Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope you all are doing well. It's hard to believe it's April already, which is exciting. We're into spring, which is always lovely. Um, I appreciate you all, holding off on a week, or I guess waiting 2 weeks from the last time that I've done a live. I was actually in Florida last week, and I wish I was still there. um, the Minnesota is there's still snow on the ground. It's still dreary. I want the sunshine. So if any of you live in a warmer state and are having some sunshine right now, can you try to send it our way? We're needing a little bit more of that, but it looks like it's supposed to get better soon. I am just going to check really quick to see if I am live in the group, and like I forgot how to do this. There I am, perfect. Now I'm just going to check YouTube, as it should be live there. Hello. I cannot see who that is, but let me guess. Is it Dana? I hope I'm right. Whoever just said hello, and thank you so much for saying hi and popping on and watching. All right, where am I? All right. Let me see if this is working. Perfect. So I am in all the areas that I need to be in. I also want to hop on my Facebook and see who just said hello. Dana. Hello. I'm going to keep that right there so that I can see. I'm really excited to continue talking about adrenals. I know that 2 weeks ago when I did the live, we talked about your lunch making time. So you always have a couple of minutes to listen. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for listening to me while you're, making lunch. That requires some skill. I struggle with listening to things and apparently making food. So I would say you're pretty good. You got some talent there. And I hope you're making something nice and tasty. All right. So 2 weeks ago, I started talking about adrenal fatigue, and what it was, the various symptoms of it, the different stages of it, because adrenal fatigue is very, very common for a lot of people with chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, autoimmune conditions. Just a lot of us, and women especially, we're walking around with burnt out adrenals. And so I really wanted to shed this and bring this to light because it can bring a whole nother layer to healing. It's these conditions, they have so many layers to them. And so we're wanting to peel those onion layers away, and heal each one so that we can thrive and we can optimally function. And when it comes to our adrenals, they play a big role in our overall health, our energy production. They play a role with our thyroid, which I'm going to cover today. Our blood sugars, like so many different things, hormones, sleep, like, yeah, so many different things that, once you start to heal, like your adrenals, you can start to heal these other areas too, because everything is so interconnected. So when you start to heal one area, it really helps to start to heal the other areas as well, which just, will lead you to feeling better and start reducing your symptoms. So that is my whole process here, is to bring you these different layers that could be contributing to your symptoms and what you are going through. And I'm just going to take a sip of my tea really quick. That is some lukewarm tea. um, so started to lose myself. Um, so, I talked about adrenals burning out and leading to that adrenal fatigue. And today I want to show how that is also connected to our thyroid health and functioning of our thyroid. So I'm not going to get too into the details of hypothyroidism. I'm going to focus on that next week because there's obviously a lot with that. Um, oh, yay, you're making your tea now. Um, whoops. And wonderful. Sorry. So, what kind of tea are you making? I just had some licorice root tea, which is really great for, respiratory health. It's great for detoxification. It also brings a little bit of like sweetness. It's a sweeter tea. So, like if I'm craving sweets, that's one that I tend to go to and it like satisfies my craving. Might sound weird, but it does work for me. I'd love to hear what tea you were making, Dana, because I'm very into it. I love to know, what kind of teas people enjoy. And I will get started. Well, while you let me know on that. So again, I will be going over more on the hypothyroidism next week and really just kind of showing the connection between your adrenals and your thyroid today. So the thyroid and adrenals influence many of the same functions and profoundly impact each other. So they are so interconnected. Treating one many times helps ensure the health of the other. So that is how like influential they are to each other and how interconnected they are. The thyroid is a butterfly-shaped gland in the front of your neck. So, doctors will feel for that to see if it's swollen, see if it is mint, see if it is diminished, that kind of stuff. And again, I will get into like, swollen thyroids next week and that kind of stuff. But it's located here in the front part of your neck. It has this butterfly shape on each side of your thoracic. Mint. Yes, mint is so delicious, so good for your digestive health too. Oh, yum. I hope you enjoy your tea. Um, the thyroid also plays a central role and is in the control of your metabolism, your mood, your hormones, cognitive function. It's essentially your body's thermostat, so it turns the dial up or down on your body's energy expenditure and metabolism, growth, reproductive functions, and these are all based on the feedback that your brain gets from your internal environment. So that's how this thermostat works is, your body communicating um, internally, sending signals, and it's like, okay, do we turn the dial up in this area? Do we need to turn it down? So it's really cool how our body has so many different signals in it it's just, I don't know, it's fascinating. All the things that are going on to help keep your body in balance and homeostasis. It always fascinates me. Um, I'm a nerd, but I love it. The thyroid is involved in hundreds or more biological functions as well. So brain development and function, breathing and your heart rate, your nervous system functions, body temperature, your muscle strength, skin health, hormones that govern your menstrual cycles and fertility, your mood, your weight, and cholesterol levels. Your thyroid determines how efficiently you burn calories, how easily you lose weight, how much energy you have, whether you have regular bowel movements, irregular periods, whether you have PMS or cyclic breast lumps, whether you can achieve and maintain a healthy pregnancy and produce breast milk after your baby is born, whether your mood is depressed, anxious, joyous, the quality and capacity of your brain to learn, remember things, and focus, and so much more as well. Like that's not everything. But as you can see, it does a lot. So we need it to function optimally. So in order for our thyroid to actually do what it needs to do, there are two main thyroid hormones that are produced to help with all of these tasks. So there's iodothyronine, and that is also known as T3. And this is the active form. The free T3 is the active form of the hormone, and it's made by converting T4, which I'll get to into T3 throughout the body, but it's especially done in the liver. So we want to make sure that our liver is also functioning optimally. That is properly detoxing like it needs to. Because if that's all gunked up and not doing well, it's not going to convert our T4 to T3 very well in there either. So as you can see, like these systems are so interconnected, which is so neat. So T4, which is also known as thyroxine, it's produced by the thyroid in much greater quantities than T3. So again, T4 will convert to T3. The free T3 is the active hormone. And then there's something else called like reverse T3 too, which I will get to. So it can either, T4 can either convert to T3 or reverse T3. The thyroid knows how much thyroid hormone to produce and when, thanks to the signals, and they start in the brain. So TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, is made by our pituitary gland, which is located in our brain. It regulates thyroid hormone production by signaling when it's time to start making thyroid hormones. So, so it'll be like, okay, thyroid, we really need to, our pituitary gland is triggered to then release this TSH, which then communicates to the thyroid. And it's like, we need to make some hormones now. So when thyroid hormone levels in the blood are low, the pituitary gland releases more thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH. And when thyroid hormone levels in the blood are high, the pituitary gland starts to decrease that TSH production. So that's how, that balances out. So the pituitary gland also speaks with our adrenal glands, like I had mentioned, in the previous live. So when we are under stress, like I spoke about during the last live, the pituitary gland signals to the adrenal glands to produce and release a series of stress hormones. That includes cortisol. And I went into cortisol in the last one. So if you, are just jumping in for the first time on this one, I highly suggest watching my last live as well, so that you can start to get this bigger picture of the inner workings. But once a stressor triggers this cascade of hormones, cortisol and the other stress hormones redirect our body's normal functions to basically ignore anything that isn't necessary to overcoming whatever stressor we have. It's like, let's put everything else on hold unless it pertains to our survival due to the stressor that we're having going on. So, way back when we had the lions attacking us or finding us, I don't know, we would have this stress response where our body was like, let's forget all these other processes. Let's, dilate our pupils. Let's increase our heart rate. Let's increase our lung capacity. And we need to get moving so that we can survive. So everything else is put on hold. We don't need to worry about digesting that piece of meat that we ate or berries that we ate. That can wait until after we survive this potential lion death threat. And then, once that stressor passes, is done, our body starts to regulate and get back to normal and that baseline. And then our normal functions can start to go on again. So this also means halting thyroid hormone production as well. So again, once that threat and stress passes, the body returns to normal and everything runs smoothly once more. The problem we're having today is that our stress response is hit near constantly. You're running late, you are stuck in traffic, you have a deadline, you got in a fight with a friend, you have multiple people needing things from you. It's just maybe, like you have guilt that's running in your brain. There are so many different stressors. It includes like environmental toxins. Like our loads are becoming so inundated. So our stress response is chronically elevated. This means we are never getting down to that baseline that we need to. That means that the things that, are put on hold or halted while we are under stress never start to really replenish, and our adrenals are getting burnt out. And again, look at the last video to see the stages of that. But our adrenals are getting overrun, inundated, burnt out, and then everything's being put on hold. And so our thyroid's not making the thyroid hormones like it needs to. Plus, there is I will get to it, but inflammation that increases in the body, which then puts more stress on the body. So it's just we are at this chronic high level of stress and never get down to our normal in order to, unpause or resume. There we go. That's the word that I was looking for. Resume everything that's been put on hold. That includes our thyroid. And our cortisol functions in a negative feedback loop with the hypothalamus and our pituitary gland. So once cortisol enters the bloodstream, it signals to your hypothalamus and your pituitary gland to slow down so that no additional stress hormones are triggered. So it slows down our thyroid production too. So stress hormones affect the enzymes that also convert T4 to T3. So when our stress is high, like it chronically is, we convert more of the T4 to actually reverse T3, which is the inactive form of T3, and it acts like brakes. So remember, we want to put a halt to things when we're under stress. So the reverse T3 is like a brake. It actually, will put a brake on your metabolic processes and slow them down and cause hypothyroid symptoms. So that brain fog, feeling cold, weight gain, bloating, fatigue, just like extreme fatigue. Sometimes we can start to see swelling of our thyroid too. Our memory starts to get impaired. There's so many different things that go on when it comes to, hypothyroidism. And I'll get more into that next week. And so also during the stress response, inflammatory immune cells are released. These are called cytokines. They make thyroid receptors actually less sensitive to our thyroid hormones. So remember, the chronic stress is going on. We're halting other metabolic processes. We're halting our thyroid hormones. And then we're having an immune system response, which releases all this inflammation in the body, which then makes it so the thyroid stuff that is going on is actually becoming less, like our receptors are less sensitive to the thyroid hormones. So they're going to not, connect with them. And that makes our thyroid underact even more. Let me know if that did not make sense at all. But as you can see, there are like so many different balls that are like rolling and kind of joining into this one giant snowball rolling down the hill at a very fast pace. So as you can see, like they come together. But again, if that didn't make sense, please let me know. My brain is seeing it one way and I want to make sure you're understanding it. But prolonged cortisol elevation, with that, putting the thyroid on halt, with increasing the inflammatory response in our body, which then has those cytokines, which then affects our thyroid receptors and leads to more underactive thyroid. Cortisol also can lead to excess estrogen and lead to accumulation of estrogen in the body. So this also increases levels of something called thyroid binding globulin, or TBG. So this is a protein in the body that allows your thyroid hormones to travel through your bloodstream. So when you have this excess estrogen, you then start to get a lot of these TBGs, these proteins um, that start to bind to your thyroid hormones. Um, and when your thyroid hormones are attached to TBG, they actually remain inactive. So then our T4 can't be stored in our tissues, and it also can't be converted to that free T3. So there we go. We're making even more, we're having even more less of thyroid functioning there. Just with that too, with that excess estrogen that we're having because of our high cortisol, which accumulates because of our, adrenals being constantly triggered and releasing cortisol. So there's another connection there. And with chronic stress, our immune system is also suppressed. This suppressed immune system can also trigger latent viral infections, which then sometimes these infections can also trigger autoimmune thyroid disease if we have, such a suppressed immune system. And autoimmune responses can start to occur because we have our immune system starts to overact. So when we have these high cortisol levels and our adrenal fatigue and burnout, our immune system is just dysregulated. It is like firing at random. It is creating potential autoimmune risk. There's just a lot going on. Cortisol also weakens your primary barriers in your body too for your immune system. So that includes your blood-brain barrier, your lung barrier, and your gut barrier. And we all know when our gut barrier is impacted, or there's a word that I'm trying to look for and I can't figure it out. Compromised. When your gut barrier is compromised, that can lead to that leaky gut, which then increases the risk of autoimmune disease. We start to see more of the gluten intolerance or allergies. We start to see dairy intolerance or allergies or these different food intolerances. And then these can start to trigger attacks on your thyroid too, through various means as well. So hypothyroidism is usually what starts to stem and evolve from adrenal fatigue. So this, like I mentioned, all the various ways they decrease our thyroid function, or decrease the action of our thyroid hormones in the body. So hypothyroidism is the most prevalent form of thyroid disease in the US. It accounts for about 80% of thyroid problems and affects at least 1 in 10 women, or at least 28 million individuals. So it comes in two main forms. There is the non-autoimmune thyroid disease, which we just call hypothyroidism. And then there is the autoimmune form, which is called Hashimoto's hypothyroiditis, which we just tend to call Hashimoto's. And there is a connection, especially with fibromyalgia. So I will go more into the forms of hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's next week, like I mentioned earlier in this live. But I really wanted to, show that connection between our adrenal and how it influences our thyroid health and how, it can really downstream into thyroid problems. So fibromyalgia and thyroid disease are strongly linked. Fibromyalgia is commonly found in 30 to 40% of the population of those with Hashimoto's. And many of the signs and symptoms of fibromyalgia and hypothyroidism are quite similar and overlap. So this is where getting a full thyroid panel can really help with determining how well your thyroid is functioning. And a lot of doctors don't do the full thyroid panel unless you specifically ask for it, or you're going to a functional medicine practitioner or a naturopath. A lot of times they will do the full thyroid panels. But many times, many times, the Western doctors usually just look at your TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, and they don't look at your free T3, they don't look at your reverse T3, and they don't look at your, T4 as well, or your antibodies, to see if you have any, thyroid antibodies going on. So it's important to really make sure that you are getting this panel done. I mean, I'd rather be safer than sorry. And if there is a pattern that's starting to trend towards hypothyroidism, you can start to nip that in the bud. before, if things start to get even worse. So from there, next week we will discuss, lifestyle, or not next week, but from the next week after, there we go. We will discuss lifestyle and nutrition approaches that can help heal adrenal fatigue and help get your thyroid back in balance. I know this is kind of one of those longer mini series, but it's really a big one. And it's really, really, really important, especially for women, because a lot of women are suffering without even realizing that they're suffering with a thyroid problem or burnt out adrenals, or hormone dysregulation or imbalance. And then there's a lot of people who the doctors really only look at the TSH and then prescribe medication, or a thyroid pill. And then these people are on this pill for like a long time, and there's unwanted side effects. And we really want to try to get our body to function as best as it can without medication. Our body tries so hard to rebalance itself. We just have to give it the right environment. And yes, medication can be so crucial and like a necessity. I am not saying that, no medication ever. No, 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 not saying that. I'm just saying that we are becoming overly medicated. And so we can nip this in the bud early on. We can get our adrenals in check, we can get our thyroid in check, and we can start to heal and feel amazing. That's what I want to get to. So I hope that you learned the connection between our adrenals and our thyroid, and how they really, are interconnected, and how they influence one another. And also, it's so common for people with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, autoimmune conditions to also see thyroid and adrenal problems. Especially when we start to see that leaky gut and all of that, like, just we're hitting all the things, right? I want to help you provide the different layers to look into to help improve your symptoms. Again, let me know if you have any questions at all. Next week, we will be going over Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, and the lab markers that we look at, what the optimal levels are for those markers. I'll also compare them to the standard markers that a lot of doctors look at. And I want to teach how optimal functioning and optimal markers are really more impactful than just the standard ranges for labs. Everyone is so different, and I will get into that. But please let me know if you have any questions at all. If you want to learn more on a certain topic that I brought up today, please let me know on that too. I hope that you found this beneficial. Maybe it, got some light bulbs going off in your head. Maybe it got where you're going to talk to your doctor and say, hey, please do a full thyroid panel for me. We all need it. But I hope there was something that you were able to take away from today's live. If there was, drop it below. I would love to hear. And yeah, that's all that I have for you today. I hope you all are, enjoying your spring and beginning of April. Until next time, take care.